Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the G.I. Joe Classified Series Storm Shadow. And this is a figure that I've been waiting to review for a very long time. I've had it on order for ages, it seems like. And finally I got one. It wasn't through the order though, it was Hasbro sent me some G.I. Joe figures to review. Well, they sent them to me and said I could review them if I wanted to. I will be. Obviously, that's what I do. But again, obviously, I'm not saying anything based on them sending me these. I have to point this out. I never review Hasbro stuff as review samples, so I want to make that clear to all of you Hasbro collectors. That's not what's happening here. I didn't even have to. I could have just kept them in my collection. But I am reviewing them, and whatever I'm saying is strictly my own thought process. It has nothing to do with them being free. I wouldn't count on ever getting free stuff again, just because of my normal review style. I don't often get free stuff. So I'm going to stick to that style, and if they want to send stuff, that's wonderful. I'm happy to show you guys stuff like this. But I was going to review this anyway, so I'm pretty psyched about it. It's a pretty cool figure. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 6 3/8 inches tall, which makes him pretty close to... we'll say a little over 16 centimeters, and that's pretty good sizing, I suppose. It makes about the right sense for scaling for this line. They're a little bit smaller than Marvel Legends, just by a touch, and that's pretty good. Now, question of the day. This is going to be a super easy question for most of you. Some of you are going to have to struggle. Storm Shadow or Snake Eyes? Which one do you prefer? You can go by character design, you can go by character traits, you can go by anything you want. I personally like Storm Shadow more because of the eye holes rather than the weird visor thingy. That's about it. I like them both. Actually, I guess I like this one more for the more general ninja look rather than this futuristic cyber-tech type thing. But either way, you can pick whatever you like. I'm going to go with this guy. Okay, so let's talk about the aesthetic on this one. It's one of the best sculpts Hasbro has put out. Maybe in forever? I don't know for sure. They've had some good sculpts, like just basic human stuff, not comparing against like mech stuff like Iron Man. I couldn't think of his name. I forgot Man. Anyway, it's a really nice sculpt. It's well proportioned. I remember looking at whoever sculpted this, I can't remember his name right now. I follow him on Instagram, or I used to, or I saw it or something. Anyway, I saw it and I thought, damn, that's a good sculpt. That's going to make a nice figure. And so far it looks like it has. It's a really, really, really good sculpt. Very well proportioned. The articulation doesn't just butcher the way it looks. The shoulders aren't tiny and low and weird. It's a very nice looking figure. Now, before we get into how nice it looks anymore, I just want to note that if you take the alternate hood, we're going to do a quick pre-accessory segment. If you take the alternate hood, leave the existing down hood on, put this hood on like this, he looks a lot like a Storm Shadow version of Kenny from South Park, and I think most of you are probably going to have to do this in your display room now. Just wanted to throw that out there. It's a fun little Easter egg that definitely didn't exist until I just made it up in my head. Okay, so, like I said, this thing does look really good. As far as paints now, sculpt is wonderful. Sculpts usually get enhanced by paint. Unfortunately, this one, it's kind of working against it. We'll start with the good stuff. The Cobra logo right here, nice tampography, plopped it right on there. Nice and clean. All the little details, wonderful. Bright red, looks great. The face tampography, a little sloppy, but really nice still. Looks great, especially from a distance. Now remember guys, when I zoom in and review stuff, I'm talking about flaws that you can see on camera. You won't always see things like this like in a normal setting unless you're looking for them like I have to in a review. Now, just if he's going to be standing on your shelf, those eyes are going to look fine, the face is going to look fine, no problem there, but it is a little sloppy. They painted the shurikens on his chest, shuriken, and not shuriken, shuriken, you wouldn't put the S on there. And then also the buckle, it looks very nice. They painted down here, they made the whole belt section black plastic, probably because they had to make this and this. And this, I'm guessing these all came, well no, probably just these two came on the same mold. Anyway, it's made out of black plastic and then painted white, and the white doesn't match the off-white of the rest of his outfit. I don't know if it looks like that on camera, but it's very different. This is like an Arctic white, and this is like a classic white, like a warmer white. Doesn't look good, and it's not painted well, and it's semi-glossy. That is not well done. This should have been molded in this color, and then the black painted, so that's definitely a bummer. Other thing that's a bummer is they painted the straps on the arms, the wraps I should say, and the legs. The legs look okay, but the arms are really iffy. I don't think they're adding much to the figure, especially since the whole figure doesn't have any dry brushing or washing going on at all anywhere. Having these be really dingy and dirty looking, but I don't know, it throws it off to me. It doesn't look right. Let me know what you guys think about that. Like, as a rule, I like it, and I think they should be colored, but maybe they're just too much. It's a bit overdone given the completely molded plastic look everywhere else. Not a big deal, but it might stand out to you. It stood out to me when I first pulled them out. I was thinking maybe if the whole figure got a wash, it would look wonderful, but as it is, they're kind of an eyesore. But yeah, otherwise, it's good. There's not a whole lot to do on a solid white figure, so I can't really say much about that, but sculpt is great. Paints are not in some places and good in others, so I'm going to favor the sculpt here because it's so damn good. I'm going to go 8 out of 10. The iffy paint, especially right here, does bother me a lot, but the sculpt I'd give a 10 out of 10. It's wonderful. Very, very nice sculpt. I like it a whole bunch. He's perfectly bulky for a ninja. He's not super skinny and lean and scrawny looking. I'm very pleased with the sculpt here. Very, very nice. I'll use this as an example because it's a Hasbro product and I'm always criticizing Hasbro's Marvel Legends for their biceps and shoulders. Look at the overall shape of the bicep and tricep and shoulder. The shoulder isn't tiny or real bulbous. That's so much better looking than every Marvel Legends figure. Sans like a couple. There's like 3 or 4 that look good, but this one is so much better looking. So, alright, we're dragging this one out way too long. I gave it a rating for the aesthetic already, so let's go ahead and jump into the accessories. We do have some gripping hands that come on them in the package. One's a trigger finger type hand, basically a sword hand or a bow holding hand. And then we have one that's meant for holding a bow specifically, or the arrow specifically. It could also hold a sword if you needed it to. No other hands, so that's definitely a bummer. I already mentioned the alternate hoods. I prefer the down hood a lot, but the up hood is not bad, especially if you do it like Kenny from South Park. But it's fine. That's a good accessory. Now, I hate to go in a negative direction here a little bit, but the scabbard / quiver accessory, which is actually nicely done. It's really nicely sculpted, and the paints are definitely clean enough. You get the fletching on there, that's what that's called, right? That's red, and then you get the logo on there, that's red, that's good. The swords fit in nicely, we'll talk about the swords in a second, but when it's on his back, get on his back. I can't do this on camera. There we go, that's what she said. Looks good, right? Like, that makes sense. It looks nice on him, except it doesn't make any sense because look at the hand. His right hand is for holding the arrow. He would be holding the bow in his left hand and firing that way, assuming he's right-handed, and since he's got this sculpt here, he's right-handed. The arrows are on the wrong side. He couldn't draw the arrows. He couldn't pull an arrow out and set it in the bow. He'd be reaching up with his bow hand to grab the arrow. What the heck? How does that kind of stuff get overlooked? It just really grinds my gears. I hate that. I will say it's nice that the swords are finally being drawn in the correct direction, so we'll talk about the swords briefly. Nice sculpt on the sword, and the blade is painted nice in silver, and they fit in the scabbard, so that is fine by me. However, the arrows being on the wrong side really bothers me. Cool little detail is there's a little tab on the back of the quiver that you can attach the bow to, and that looks pretty nice. I like that you can hold all of his stuff on there, and it's not super bulky and garish. The bow has just a little bit of paint on it, so that's okay. And you do get a spare arrow accessory so that he can hold that like he's getting ready to draw and fire. So that's pretty cool. Draw and loose an arrow. He could loose an arrow. That's how they say that sometimes. I don't say that. So that's cool. It's just that the arrows are on the wrong side. The quiver's facing the wrong way, and that drives me nuts. But otherwise, he has really cool accessories. I like it. I guess you could technically count this as an accessory if you wanted to take the tassel off. You could, but then you have a little button oven, and I don't think you want a button oven. So I will give his accessories an 8 out of 10, minus a point, 7 out of 10 for the mirrored quiver. Don't like that. All right, let's talk about the articulation. We're going to pop the head off, and we're going to move this. And we're going to take this off. We're going to take everything off of him so that I can have an unadulterated look at his articulation. Of course, those things, this won't get in the way. This will just minimally, so no big deal. But also you can see that's a nice looking ninja. Okay, double ball peg on the head, ball peg at the neck. It allows you to move him in very nuanced ways. Definitely the way to go. His neck doesn't have as much range as I would like. Whoever cut that in there didn't give him that much range. The range on the head is acceptable. Definitely could get a little more out of it. I will link you to the video of me showing you almost the exact same type of sculpt with articulation that works really well. But it's fine, like double ball pegs and ball pegs are great. We do have a little bit of a butterfly. It's not, again, very well executed. So far the articulation's letting down the sculpt a little bit. We get very little range out of this. So little that I would just probably leave it back like that and just not touch it again. But yeah, it doesn't have very much range there. Raising the shoulder up is fine. It goes better than horizontal, so that's really good. You do get your full rotation here, but because of the sleeve, you're going to get it at an angle at the top. That's reasonable. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow gives him plenty of range. I think you might be able to squeak out a little more. The wrist things are getting in the way, but that's still plenty of range. No pins, by the way, if you like that. This guy has no pins. Wrists have a swivel at the gauntlet. If you want that, that's cool. And of course, the wrists themselves have a swivel and a vertical hinge on both sides. You're welcome. I'm taking credit for that because I have been complaining about vertical hinges for the longest time, and now we're starting to see them, so I'm going to say it's because of me. It's probably not, but it could be, so you're welcome. Ab crunch on this guy goes all the way back, and it doesn't look as bad as most Marvel Legends, though it definitely could be filled out a little better, but it goes really far back and really far forward, but also he has a giant hump back here, which isn't great. I would have liked to see on this guy probably just a diaphragm joint like Baroness or a lot of other figures, but it's okay. This is a floating piece, so it'll go out of the way. And then we do have a ball peg at the bottom, so you get your rotation out of that. And you do get leaning all the way around. Not a ton, but you do get it. For the hips, we have hinged ball pegs, so they drop down. And that does allow you to bring the leg up a little bit higher for a kick. To me, it's not enough to warrant the hinged ball peg, which is a nuisance and it's a pain in the butt. And they're just not really that necessary, but these aren't a terrible example of them. They're not loose, so it's acceptable. The legs will go out to the side really far. That has nothing to do with the hinged ball peg. That's just a well-designed hip. So kudos to Hasbro for that perfect splits. Very nicely done. The legs don't go back really at all. The butt gets in the way. Thigh swivel is fine. Double jointed knee works as well as you would expect. So that is good. We do get a shin swivel at the top of the wraps. And let's please let the ankles be good. Ankles go all the way back. So far we're good. And not very far forward at all, and there's no toe joint, so that is going to impede posing quite a bit. Oh, I hate it when they don't give you much forward range. It's enough, but it definitely could be better. The ankle rocker is actually really solid, so that's good too. So yeah, his articulation's not as good as the sculpt, but it's good enough, I would say. We do have a few issues with like the butterfly joint, and the hips aren't great, and this region could be better, neck could be better, but it's not bad. I'll give the articulation overall an 8. It's definitely good. It could be better. I think that's a fair assessment. It's definitely better than most Marvel Legends, so I'll give you that for sure. But given what's here, it could be better. So time for a final verdict on this guy. It's so much more fun to handle these G.I. Joe figures than Marvel Legends. It really makes Marvel Legends even less fun after handling these guys. But these guys are fun figures. They're not perfect figures, but nothing is at a price point that is fixed. Well, a budget that is fixed, I guess I should say. Yeah, it has a few flaws. Nothing egregious, I would say. I'm going to give it an overall rating of 9 out of 10. This is a really, really strong release. Compared against Marvel Legends, it's a hands-down winner. Compared against other G.I. Joe figures, it's one of the better ones I've seen. The sculpt alone is leagues better than most other figures and from Hasbro. And I like it a whole bunch. So really, whoever did the sculpt, Hasbro, give them a bonus or something. That sells the figure against all the other issues that it has. And I like it a whole bunch. I think you guys will too. So thanks for watching, guys. If you want to leave a comment, you probably should. You can answer the questions of the day. I do pin comments. It doesn't have to be one of the answers, but it could be anything anybody says that's interesting or funny or whatever. And you might want to give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. That lets me know you did. If you didn't, that's fine too. You can do a thumbs down. If you want to share it, that would be great for either reason. That's fine. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.